Good afternoon, everyone. This is Allam. I'm a PhD candidate in Concordia University, Canada, under supervision of Dr. Mazdak. Today, my job is to try to convince you why do we have these three terms in my title. We have knowledge graph, we have customer, we have deconstruction. So I'm going to start by the introduction. I do disagree with Casimir, so I'm not going to skip the introduction here. I have to introduce the concept that I'm going to talk about, because the last time I checked what is the definition of circular economy, there is a paper I think was published in 2023. There is 221 definition of circular economy. So let's start by the easy part, which is linear economy. Linear economy, it's take something from the environment, make something out of it, and then dispose it at the end of the day. So if we want this to be circular, what we want to do is, instead of disposing it, we want to circulate it back as an input for making new products. So that's in a nutshell, the difference between linear and circular economy. And this will affect two parts of this equation, the consumption part and the production part. And this is stated in the SDG number 12, Sustainable Development Goals. So if we want to add some numbers to it, let's assume I need 100 units to make this city. And if I'm going to circulate back 100 units again to the built environment, that means I'm 100% circular. For sure, that's a utopian city. There is no such a thing. So most of my presentation today will be on this green arrow. My goal is to try to minimize the losses that we are going to have for this 100 units that you have from the very beginning until the end, so we can preserve as much as we can. So the very first step for us not to lose so much at the beginning is to apply something called deconstruction. We need to deconstruct the building. That's why cities want old buildings to be taken down gently. So we are preserving as much as we can from the very beginning of this process. That's the deconstruction part of the title. So let's look at some statistics. By the end of 2018, we were 9.1% circular. By the end of 2023, we were 7.2%. That's a reduction of 21%. I pulled this slide from my presentation in the Dutch-Canadian Alliance. This was last year. So I was checking the numbers before I come to the presentation, and I noticed that by the end of 2024, now we are 6.9% circular, so we are doing worse year by year. And that means we are negative 24%. So let's try to understand how I'm gonna bring again the concept of the utopian city and the deconstruction in Ethiopia. We have coined this term in one of our papers. So the deconstruction in Ethiopia has three main concepts: deconstructability, capability, and marketability. Deconstructability, that means, think about it, we are like Lego-based construction. We can deconstruct every single component in the building. That's amazing. Capability, we have all the labors, we have all the infrastructure, we have all the means to be able to deconstruct that. Great. Marketability, we have a market for this. There are customers that are willing to take these components and use them in the built environment. Most of our focus as engineers, we are focusing on this part, focusing on design for deconstruction, design for disassembly potential. We are really just focusing on the engineering part of things. But we are overlooking what the customer needs. So in this research, I'm going to focus on the customer, what the customers are looking for. But before going into this, and that's the second term in my title, I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page on that. So what kind of leverage customers have? Think about Google Glasses, I think more than 10 years ago. When the customers hated the product, even though at that time this was the state of the art, They were applying augmented reality, they were taking pictures with the glasses and so on and so forth. But when the customers hate the thing, they shut down the operation, I think, after 2 years. Look at BlackBerry. Also, they were doing a great job. Think about BBM, like they were like, we need to have a secured messaging and all of that. But when the customer hated the bottom part of the mobile phone, now they are not manufacturing phones anymore. So that's the kind of leverage that the customers have. So our aim of this research is to develop a customer-centric deconstruction assessment model to support decision-making and deconstruction planning. So where is knowledge graph? This was in the title as well. We are going to get there. So we have 3 stages here. First of all, we are developing something related to deconstruction assessment models. So we need to know what are the existing models in deconstruction assessment. The second stage, we need to understand the second-hand market. That's the customers. We need to understand what they do or what they want. And the last part, where I'm going to talk about this later, which is developing or constructing the knowledge graph. So we studied, I think, 14 models in the literature, deconstruction assessment models. Most of them were centered around Akinet's model, which is the deconstruction assessment score. This was in 2015, which is a great model, by the way. So it considers the deconstruction assessment score using 2 different categories. The first one is deconstruction score, which is the ease of deconstruction or disassembly potential, right? And the second term, which is the recoverability. So what is the potential for reuse and recycling the component in hand? But for this to align with the model that we want to work on, we need to make few changes to it. So this is our model, the customer-centric DAS, and we made 3 changes. The first one, R1 and R2, they were reuse and recycling. So we bundled them together in something called market demand. Why we did this? There was no point to give credit for the same component that can be reused and recycling. We do understand that, yes, if the component or the material can be reused or recycled, that's a good thing, but at the end of the day, it will be reused or recycled. So we bundled the 2 concepts as a market demand. The second thing, we changed the addition to multiplication. Why we did this? Consider we can deconstruct every single component in this room, but there is no market for this. There is no point, all right? So if the market demand is 0, there is no point of thinking of deconstruction. No, demolish and dispose it. We don't need to force it. The last change, which is very, very minor, we just bundled all of them as an average as they were in the equation. So the next question is how to measure the market demand. That's the new concept that we are adding to the equation. So to do so, we needed to understand what the market wants. So we categorized the consumers into 2 categories. The first one was the retailers. Retailers are the ones who are willing to take this window, sell it as a window. Take this door, resell the door as a door. That's it. So we checked the retailers that we have. I'm talking about North America, US and Canada. So some of them, they are stating their acceptance criteria. Some of them, they don't. Some of them, they accept the dimension, they state the dimensions, the age that they want from the component to accept, and so on and so forth. Also, we did the same task for manufacturers. Manufacturers here, I mean, the ones that can take like for example, the floor that we have and do something else with it, okay? So it's the same concept. Some of them have also mentioned their acceptance criteria, like for example, this one, it's called Urban Jacks, I believe, and they mention what are the sizes that they accept for the dimensional lumber for framing, for them to remanufacture it. Also, I started bugging them on Instagram, asking, what do you guys do, what do you accept, and so on and so forth. And at the end, we bundled all of them into what you see in front of you here. And after that, that's where the knowledge graph comes in. We have this knowledge graph that has products that have the building side and that has the market side. And our job is to connect them to one another. And if we were able to do so, we can say what components can go to which retailer or to which manufacturer, and that's what we did. So we modeled a very, very simple case study, a typical wall framing in North America. We developed the knowledge graphs, and then we started to query them. And then we compared between the original DAS formula and the formula that we proposed. And we were seeing we can see here how sensitive our formula to the market demand. If there's a retailers in the area, if there's manufacturers in the area, how this could affect the DAS. So for the conclusion of this work, customers should be in the equation. And the second thing is these developments should be very, very, very convenient. Thank you so much. This is my LinkedIn also. I'd like to connect with all of you. Thank you.